Hey there folks, I haven't been reviewing things as much lately, but I wanted to talk about some movies, but before I do, I want to preface something about some other films I saw. From now on, if I see a film that I don't want to actually put editing time into, I'll just talk about it at the start of one of my live streams. On the first half hour of my commentary live streams, I spend time interacting with my viewers, and I've decided to start throwing mini reviews into those sections. If you want to know my thoughts on any of the films that are on the screen now, then check out the first half hour of my Slenderman live stream. Check out the live stream in general because it's probably the best one I've ever done, but the first half hour was spent specifically talking about those movies, so if you want my thoughts on them, then go there. Anyways, I have two movies in this review that I want to talk about, so I'm gonna talk about them now. Okay, thank you, bye. The first movie I want to talk about is Blue Story, which was good. This is a movie that explores gangs, and unlike most movies that try this, it actually feels real. The characters are written in a way that they feel like real people instead of characters. All of the acting was absolutely phenomenal. The dialogue was well written and felt very genuine. None of the environments felt fake. Admittedly, there are some bad scenes early on, but there are a lot of effective sequences throughout this movie. All of the violence was really well done. There are scenes in this film where you can tell there won't be much consequence and they're still really tense. And since the scenes with no consequence are intense, you can imagine how tense all the scenes that do actually have consequence are. Some of the consequences faced in this movie are flat out devastating. What happens to these characters is already pretty horrible, but the fact you actually give a shit about them just makes it so much more effective. There are some really great shots in the film, although for the most part the cinematography was just competent. Some of the editing choices could have been much better. There were a few parts in the film that were a little bit logically questionable. Honestly though, my big issue with this film is probably the music. The director of this movie is actually a rapper, and he uses his music to influence the story. The first couple of songs give background on the characters, so we don't have to spend too much time on things the film feels is unnecessary. The final song in the movie serves as an epilogue. However, the rest of the songs just kind of tell us what we already know. A scene will pass and then all of a sudden we'll be told what we just saw, but in song. You know, in case you forgot what you literally just saw. And in case being told wasn't enough, every one of these songs is accompanied with flashbacks to the scene you just witnessed. None of these songs are bad per se, but I just wish the film trusted its audience more. And considering that the music was kind of the crux of the marketing, I was hoping for something more than just being told what we've already seen. Still, I did overall like this movie. Definitely check it out when it comes out November 22nd, because it's really good. And I'm giving Blue Story a 7 out of 10. The other movie I want to talk about is The Irishman, which is the latest movie from Martin Scorsese. I went into this movie knowing as little as possible, and yeah, it was great. Probably my favorite aspect to this movie is the script. The dialogue is all very well written and never feels forced. The characters all have interesting dynamics that are fun to watch. The tone is very well balanced throughout the entire movie. Nothing in the film ever felt throwaway or useless. The story is very interesting, and despite the 3.5 hour runtime, it never manages to get dull. It's overall a fantastic script. And luckily the rest of the movie's pretty up to par. The film was incredibly well shot, all of the acting was phenomenal, especially from Robert De Niro. Speaking of the actors, the de-aging technology looked fantastic, and yes, that includes in the daytime scenes. All of the prosthetics and makeup that were used to aid the CGI looked pretty fantastic as well. The costume and production design were both exceptional. The film was incredibly well edited. The musical score was great and it was used very appropriately. The film was pretty well paced and I was never bored. The usage of setting was very effective and it never felt fake. My only issues with the movie only actually apply to a couple of scenes. There was one scene where the music was used a bit inappropriately, and there were a couple of scenes where the audio mixing could have been better. But aside from that, this movie was pretty spectacular. Check it out in cinemas now, or wait till it's out on Netflix if you want, but this film is better experienced with a crowd, so I'd recommend the cinema experience. This is easily one of the best movies of the year, and I can't recommend it enough. And I'm giving The Irishman a 9 out of 10. That's the end of this video. Like, share, subscribe, and bad at outros, and I'll see you in whatever I do next.